Welcome to today's discussion on the Manly Focus channel, where we'll dive into the concept of sexual market value, SMV, and how understanding it is essential for men seeking a sense of security in today's dating and marriage market. It is well known that actual motivations can deviate from those that are openly expressed, and this disparity can stem from negative intentions, such as dishonesty, or simply lack of awareness. Comprehending SMV in male-female relationships is crucial for men in today's society to attain a sense of security. The significance of understanding the true value in the marriage market lies in the ability to dispel the societal myths that surround this area. SMV discusses how attractiveness is assessed in the marriage market for both women and men. Current social narratives promote the belief that men and women, or even people in general, are equal. While they ought to be equal under the law, biologically they are not. Society operates hierarchically, signifying that individuals hold different positions in this hierarchy, either higher or lower, depending on the specific aspect being evaluated. It is evident that people are not the same. They possess different appearances, bodies, and characteristics due to distinct genetic combinations. Men and women differ both physically and mentally. On average, men are taller and stronger than women, while women tend to be more resistant to illnesses. Acknowledging these apparent facts, it becomes clear that we are not identical and thus not equal. Differences in various attributes and abilities assign individuals with distinct values in different spheres. A 15-year-old student, a 30-year-old professional, a 45-year-old doctor, and a 60-year-old restaurant owner will each hold different values based on their unique characteristics and skills. With this understanding, we can revisit the primary focus of today's discussion: value in the marriage market. Society often perpetuates the notion that age is merely a number for women, and that a 50-year-old woman is as valuable and attractive as a 20-year-old. This is far from the truth and constitutes one of the greatest misconceptions perpetuated in the marriage market. In reality, a woman's attractiveness typically peaks around the age of 18 and declines as time progresses. Men's attractiveness also varies with age, but it follows a different pattern compared to women's. Biology has a considerable impact on a woman's attractiveness, as it is closely connected to her fertility. The prime age for a woman to conceive is between 20 and 25 years old. As time progresses, fertility gradually diminishes, and after the age of 35, a woman's fertility decline becomes more pronounced. Nature has programmed our sexual desires such that men are drawn to younger women due to their higher probability of successful reproduction. This poses a significant challenge to women in terms of their genuine value in the dating market, as it suggests that their likelihood of finding an attractive partner willing to commit to a relationship is rather low. We understand that this is perceived as a threat to their survival, making denial a natural response for women confronted with this issue. When challenged, they often argue that men also age and so forth. While this is true, it should be noted that a man's physical appearance is not as crucial to women. From earlier discussions, we know that at a fundamental biological level, women prioritize good genes and ample resources in men. A man is able to impregnate a woman throughout his lifetime, and while it may become more challenging, it is certainly not unattainable. Furthermore, wealth typically accumulates with age, so age can work to a man's advantage, as the older he is, the more likely he is to possess wealth compared to his younger years. Experience also implies that his so-called game will improve. Thus, the argument about men aging is somewhat misplaced. So, what does the true graph of men's value look like? It appears as follows. Keep in mind that this represents the average, so there might be variations in extreme cases. As you can observe, the peak attractiveness of men and women is separated by several years. When a woman reaches her peak attractiveness at around 23 years old, her male counterparts are often overlooked. A woman in her prime can opt for a more appealing partner because men desire her at her peak sexual attractiveness. As a consequence, the men she chooses will usually be older. Examining the graph, the most valuable woman will pursue the most valuable men, which is only natural. The issue arises when an increasing number of women during their prime are less interested in securing a stable partner and more focused on enjoying life's benefits. Later, when they encounter the so-called wall, their attractiveness declines significantly. Men who recognize their own value can select younger, more attractive women, and they will often enjoy their company, for instance in the bedroom, but they will not invest in them as they would have if the women were 10 years younger. This occurs because they have the means and, more importantly, the options. A man whose attractiveness at 40 years old is a 9 can seek a woman who complements him, which will often be a woman between 20 and 25 years old. Now, imagine being a 35-year-old woman who realizes that what used to work for her no longer does. Men no longer hold the door for her, their gaze no longer follows her, and the possibility of a relationship is rarely discussed, except perhaps with much older men. Attractive men are opting for women who are 15 years younger, resulting in significant frustration. These biological instincts are being suppressed through social engineering and shifts in the perception of the problem. Consequently, it is not discussed openly. Instead, false behavioral patterns are instilled through socialization and upbringing. In the past, different moral norms contributed to a relative balance in the marriage market. However, today's unnatural and damaging narratives glorify women while demeaning men. The issue is that these narratives often don't correspond with reality. The number of men with strong genes and resources is determined by the fact that the stronger the genes, the higher the likelihood of women having robust and healthy offspring, and the more substantial the resources, the better the chances of raising children in prosperity. These are the basic biological motivations of women when seeking a partner. Appearance is only significant if it indicates health concerns, in which case the emphasis returns to potent genetic material. Typically, the value of men and women evens out around the age of 30. Men's value as partners increases as they achieve their maximum potential and peak form, while women's attractiveness diminishes rapidly. This particular context does not describe intellectual value but rather matrimonial value. When these values intersect, it often signifies that women are prepared to commit to a long-term relationship. According to the statistics, the average age of men entering marriage is 30, and for women, it's 28, which perfectly aligns with the intersection of values on the chart. During their prime years, women reveled in life's pleasures because they were young and attractive. On the other hand, a young man at 17 years old has a value of about 1.5. The surge of testosterone during their teenage years drives them to satisfy their needs, but they often lack the opportunities to do so. This absence of opportunity contributes to the derogatory term incel for young men who haven't yet developed the necessary personality traits to attract partners. As women's biological clock starts ticking, they begin to claim that they've had their fun and are now ready for a stable relationship. It's essential for men to understand that they'll only start to be noticed by women once they've increased their value. If they can endure this period without entering into an unfavorable marriage, time will eventually work in their favor. As men progress into their 30s and 40s, their value increases, while women's value decreases. At this stage, men can choose from younger women who will respond favorably to their advances. This is when men can assume control of their lives. The reason this information is not widely disseminated is that some individuals want men to remain weak and uninformed. With knowledge, men can make conscious decisions about whether or not to engage in long-term relationships. Naturally, it is beneficial for you, and I wholeheartedly encourage you to be conscious of the game you are participating in and its true rules. If you are unaware of this, you will lose from the very beginning. You are destined for failure, akin to playing poker without knowing the rules. Before learning, you will lose all your money. You must comprehend the odds and risks, which means you need to understand the actual balance of gains and losses. You simply need to learn the game and develop skills. In this example, it is evident that on the dating market, men and women possess different values. The peak of attractiveness for both genders transpires at distinct stages of their lives. Women attain their peak attractiveness earlier but also lose it more rapidly, while men reach their peak later and sustain it for an extended duration. Some of you may intuitively sense this but may not have been able to articulate it. You may also question the origin of this situation. The value of both sexes is depicted differently in movies and television series. For instance, Sex and the City attempts to create the impression that older women are just as valuable in terms of attractiveness as younger ones. Although older women can still be relatively alluring for intimate moments in the bedroom, their chances of entering a long-term relationship are limited. I recognize that even if women are not conscious of this phenomenon, they sense it. Women beyond their peak attractiveness are treated by the men they desire in the same manner they once treated men during earlier phases of their lives when their value was low, and they could select the most appealing partners. This occurs for the same reason women treated men this way, because they could and had an extensive range of options. Now, as time passes, The roles are reversed. Men realize they have choices, and as a result, they select what is best for them because they possess higher value than their female counterparts. Reflect on the people you know. Are there examples of women who complain about the absence of real men when they are 20 years old, or is it older women who can no longer retain the men who were once easily accessible? Such beliefs about attractiveness influence our perceptions, but the harsh reality is that false convictions will inflate like a balloon until they burst. When that occurs, tears will be shed, but it will be too late to rectify the situation. Women will come to the realization that their best days have gone by, and it is already too late. They will deny reality, asserting they are still attractive, but the men they desire will no longer want to commit to them. This will lead to increasing deception, but they will not be able to deceive life itself. You can deceive your friends and your mother, but not the fundamental rules of the dating market. Do not be misled into thinking otherwise. It is simpler to deceive someone than to convince them they have been deceived. In conclusion, understanding the dynamics of the dating market and the differences in value between men and women is vital in making informed decisions about relationships and marriage. While societal norms and media representations may attempt to distort these realities, it is essential to recognize that both men and women experience peak attractiveness at different stages of their lives. Men tend to reach their peak later and maintain it for a longer duration, while women's peak attractiveness occurs earlier and declines more rapidly. It is crucial for individuals to be aware of these dynamics and not be deceived by false narratives. Ultimately, being well-informed and honest about the realities of the dating market can lead to healthier, more satisfying relationships for all parties involved. Thanks for joining us today on the Manly Focus channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content on understanding the complexities of male-female relationships and the dating market.